First, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for attending both the keynote and today's session. We really appreciate it. This is our first time at the conference, and we've had an amazing time so far. And the food's been incredible, the people and the energy's been great, and so many great booths and talks and sessions, so we're really grateful to be here. And we're excited to be sharing all of the things we're working on in modern collaboration and Microsoft Loop. I wanted to first get a raise of hands to see how many of you before this conference were using Microsoft Loop for work. Oh, great. Okay, about half the room. And how many people weren't using Loop but knew about it? Okay, a few more people. And then how many people are interested in trying Loop after the keynote? Okay, we'd love to see it. Thank you. Awesome. That's great.
Fantastic.
Well, in this presentation, we're going to do some recap from what you saw in the keynote, just to reinforce some of the concepts of why we're building Loop and what it's all about. And we'll do a live demonstration as well of how it's integrating into Teams, since this is a very Teams-focused conference, and also show some new capabilities we've built into Loop workspaces that we think are really exciting. And we really also want to spend a lot of time with room questions and answers. So open the floor, we'll pass the mic around. Hopefully you have great questions. We can hopefully give you some great answers and give you a better idea of how you can best utilize Loop in your business and with your customers and clients.
Yeah. And for those that did attend the keynote, we're going to do a deep dive in some areas that we couldn't talk about because of time. And one of those areas is going to be IT admin capabilities and some of the, I know there's some questions that we got when we were at the booth and that people have asked us. So we are going to spend a lot of time on that. Okay? I really hate how close I have to have this mic.
Take it away, Mike.
Shall we, you want to move forward on the next slide? Okay, so let's just quickly introduce ourselves. My name is Michael Aldridge. I've been at Microsoft for 20 plus years, and I've worked on a broad variety of different products. I started actually as the first product manager in the Hong Kong subsidiary back in 1994, believe it or not. And now I've been in the Loop team for the last almost 2 years. Partnering with Jake and the rest of the team around really creating a V1 product that is super exciting. It's always an exciting journey. Jake?
My name is Jake, Principal Product Manager on the Microsoft Loop team as well. I actually just passed my 10 years at Microsoft on April 14th, so that was an exciting milestone. I've worked on the Windows platform, worked on input devices, eye tracking. I worked on a machine learning startup acquisition at Microsoft called Lobe. I worked in Power Platform and now working on Microsoft Loop. And it's by far the most exciting product I've had the opportunity to work on. And got to see it through from private preview to public preview to GA. And now we're working on growth. I saw a hand. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to do this.
Yeah.
Modern collab, the iconography, the fact that you put it there, as compared to modern work, as other branding, and sorry to geek out on this, but why did you label it modern collab, and give us a little context around that?
Sure,
Yeah.
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
So honestly, this isn't an external thing. This is actually our group. Our group that Ron runs is called Modern Collaboration.
Excellent.
So we're just trying to label and brand the group that we come to that's part of the Microsoft 365 engineering universe. So don't, it's a great question, but don't interpret this as that somehow we're rolling out something new called Modern Collab. This is just our engineering group's name.
Love it.
So thank you for asking the question because it's important to clarify. I probably won't do this again.
All right.
All right, so I'm going to skip over, for those of you that were at the keynote, I'm going to skip over a lot of the AI, the artificial intelligence trending information because we want to devote more time on some of the other deep dive areas. Suffice to say, I think we all know that AI is dramatically developing across this industry. It's an absolute tsunami over the last year. In the context of that, we at Microsoft have the Microsoft Work Trend Index, and we've been doing this for many years. It surveys 31,000 people across 31 countries. The URL to that, you can go to this if you haven't, if you don't know about it, called aka.ms/WTI. And we have a number of different facets in terms of understanding the world of work. And we also use not just surveys or focus groups, but we also use LinkedIn and some of the information that we can get from LinkedIn in terms of what people are doing. So some.
Can I just throw in there, for folks that aren't aware of the Work Lab blog, which has the work trend index report and stuff on it, it's a fantastic resource for understanding like a lot of the product and data that goes into building out of products and modern work in general. And I'm just always surprised that not enough people that know about the Work Lab site. So I think it's also worklab.microsoft.com.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, great point. So some of the things we've learned from the Work Index is that information and artifacts are in disparate apps, disparate chats, and different places that they're stored. And people are experiencing information and meeting overload. And people are finding it challenging to get work done and know where to start. And it's in this context that we look at what can we do to help address some of these issues. People are 64% of people just don't have enough time or energy to do their job. They're really overwhelmed. They're spending more than half their time communicating instead of creating and doing. And only 43% of employees' time is actually spending time creating and doing. So in parallel, we've seen an evolution of collaboration tools. When we started, many of us, when I started, like back in '94, when I started Marketing Office 4.2, we had Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and it was really about the desktop. And then the first disruption was really the shared workspace, where you're starting to actually collaborate in these documents across networks. The second disruption was really focusing on the process, not just the output. And we're now at the third disruption, where AI is being integrated as part of everyday workflows to reduce effort that's needed to collaborate. So in that context, we also see that one of the big pain points, and we talked about this in depth before, is meetings are incredibly inefficient. 58% of people say it's incredibly difficult to brainstorm. 57% say it's difficult to catch up. And more than half say it's really hard to summarize what happens in a meeting. And then linked to that is another 55% are saying, what are the next steps? The next steps are always unclear. And worst case scenario, you're having a meeting to try to resolve what wasn't resolved in the first meeting. So in that context, we tried to create, we created Microsoft Loop. And what is Loop? Well, part of what we're going to do today is explain Loop and how it's both a standalone app that consists of pages and workspaces and components that exists inside Microsoft 365 apps. And we actually started, when we started rolling out Loop well over, I think 3 years ago, we started with components in Teams. That was the first place. That's the most mature area where we've been. And so if you have any awareness of Loop or have used it, most cases people have done it because they see it in Teams. But we are now integrated into Outlook, into Word, and we will be integrated into PowerPoint and we're already integrated into Planner and Whiteboard. So there's a relationship that we're going to go through in Jake's demo today about how these all interrelate and how you can use them together. And we're going to spend some time on this, so I'm going to move quickly through this. So let's actually get to the demo, and I'm going to hand off to my partner Jake, and he's going to walk through how using Loop with Teams plus Whiteboard and Copilot is going to make the most of meetings, making them more efficient for you and addressing some of those pain points we just talked about, helping you to be more effective brainstorming in a virtual environment, and then taking the output of meetings and turning that into progress into projects and progress.
Cool, thanks Michael. So our team is geo-distributed across many cities and countries. We're on Teams every single day, and we're using Loop to collaborate on our projects and make progress. And this is why our team is best fit as well for building these modern collaboration tools, because we are in need of these capabilities and advancements to be as productive as we can be. So let me switch to a demo. Now, some of this you've seen in the keynote, which I'll recap just to reinforce. And so I want to start in Teams. Now, all of us are using Teams for both meetings and chats and conversations. And instead of having a back and forth conversation where decisions are being made and questions are being asked and you're going back and forth, and the problem with a lot of messy chats is the next day or the next week, you have to go find that information that you already discussed. It's like, I remember we decided something, but I got to go find it, search by name, search by context, and it can just be a lot of time wasted finding stuff. So instead, you can insert a loop component in any Teams chat to start bringing your team together and making shared progress. And so in the chat box of any Teams message, you can click this loop icon, and this brings up a menu of templates that make it really easy to get started on what kind of things you want to put together. We have a lot of different things like just bullet lists or checklists. We even have code blocks for developers if you want to insert a snippet of code and then co-edit that code. We have Kanban boards and a number of different tables like task lists and voting tables. Voting is actually a really great example if you're trying to come up with a decision together with many people, and instead of throwing the ideas out, you just vote together. So let's actually show that now. So I can insert a voting table and say, places to eat in Denver. And I can send this off. And then Michael can start adding some suggestions. Michael's actually from Colorado. We both live in Seattle now. So yeah, let's get some ideas. I'll add that one. Okay, and the team can add pros and cons and then simply vote. And for a group of 10 or more, this is a really effective way to come together on a decision. We've done this in last minute instances where a team is together for a conference and we're all trying to figure out where we should go eat and what places were available. So we'd say, hey, this place isn't open as a con and things like that.
I don't think you're not able to see the, can you slide it over? I think.
Oh, yeah.
There you go, that way.
Hey, you had a question, yeah?
And then if I'm looking for that later, do I just type places to eat in Denver in the search and this will pop up, or how do I find it?
Yeah, great question. So the question was, after this has been sent, how do I find it? So there's two ways to go about finding, or really three ways. One is going back to the chat that you were with your team members on and looking for it in there. The second is you can search in Office.com and M365. So it'll search up just like a Word doc or a PowerPoint file. And then the third place is in the Loop app. So when you open loop.microsoft.com, you can go to recent and see all of your components that you've ever opened over time. And so that's where things are getting kind of centralized. And we're working on making that even better over time. So anything that you're working with in the Loop ecosystem is really easy to get back to.
Will Copilot find it if you search for it?
So the next question was, will Copilot find it if you search for it? I have to imagine it will, but I haven't really tried that in depth to see. And another question?
Sorry to interrupt. We'd love to get through the demos and then we do Q&A, only because we won't be able to get through all the content. So we want to have this interactive, but if you can give us a chance to get through everything, it might be better, and then we can try to come back to it. So if you can log your question, we'll come back to it.
That's probably a good idea.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thanks. Sorry about that.
Cool. All right, so, and then here was for this conversation, this was when I got added to this chat 3 weeks ago to say, hey, you're doing the demo and doing the conference. And so instead of going back and forth, we made this component for conference prep. And this is where we started adding our to-do items and doing simple project management. And I had Copilot summarize the decisions from this chat, and I put it in here so it was easy to reference. And these links actually jump to the place in the chat that reference this information. So you can get citations from Copilot to know where the information came from, which is really great because then you can have more confidence in what Copilot is summarizing, and you know what it was grounded on and why it came to that decision. So it's a way to verify what Copilot decisions were made. So this is just a quick look at loop components in Teams chat, and it's a really effective way to collaborate together with your team members. What's really great about loop components as well is that they're portable, as Michael shared. So you can share components across different, let me just hide that. Well, that's fine. Yeah, so you can share them across different apps. So I can take this component and copy it here and then paste it into email. And this component will stay live and in sync across all the applications that it's shared. So it makes it really powerful to collaborate with teams across different applications. So not only in Teams, but also Outlook, Whiteboard, Word, OneNote, and more apps in the future.
OneNote's just rolling out.
Yeah. So that's really powerful as well. Okay, so next, let's talk about the inefficiencies with meetings. We're really excited to share that Loop components are available in every single meeting you create in Teams. And this is a way for team members to come together on a shared agenda for what the meeting will be about. One of the biggest challenges with meetings is not having a clear agenda and attending and might not even know what the meeting's going to be about. You kind of just show up and you talk about what is this for, and it's important for not only the meeting creator but also participants to ask for what the agenda is and create it together. So with this shared component, instead of asking an email or Teams chat, you can just start posing the questions here and tagging people and making sure you know what to expect. And once an agenda and Teams meetings have been created, when you join the meeting, those meeting notes will automatically open for all participants on the right-hand side over here. And so this is a great way for anyone who's joining in the lobby or waiting for other people to join. You know right away what the topic's going to be about. You can ask more questions. Usually I start a meeting and say, hey, here's the agenda for today. Are there any other topics we need to cover before we get started? And people can easily co-edit and share that. And then while the meeting's happening, this is the shared space to also take meeting notes. So you don't have one person being the note taker using Word or a different application. And thank you. And everyone can see it. So you can co-edit. I can actually make a change if I think I want to make a different meeting note. And just hold the team accountable and make it more collaborative. And then the third challenge with meetings is ending it and not knowing what the next steps are, or not knowing who's responsible for what. You may have had a bunch of ideas and you're like, wait, is Michael going to do that or am I going to do that? I'll just wait to see if he does it instead. Now you can actually add tasks right here. So I can say, Michael can add one here. You can assign the task, you can assign it to an individual, and you can give it a due date. And what's really cool about these tasks is that they'll automatically synchronize with the To-Do app and Planner. And we think this is really powerful. Now, not everyone may be using these apps right now to use project management, but we think this can be a way to start recognizing the value of task management. To-Do is a great app for tracking your personal tasks, and so they're aggregated across all the different meetings and Loop pages and other places that you're tracking To-Do. And then Planner will be associated to, I see Michael's having some fun. Planner can be associated to the meeting, and you can see all the tasks that were about that meeting, and so you can keep track of all the things that need to be done after the meeting. Perfect. All right, so here you can see Planner and To-Do. I'm going to open this up just to show you this next. And you'll see my Planner's a bit messy, which I need to work on, but you can see here, these are the two tasks that Michael just added that were due today. And so this is a great place to say, hey, what's due today that I need to catch up on? But you can go to all the items that are assigned to you, all of them that are planned for the future and that are started and things like that. So To-Do is a really great way to manage your tasks. So let's check that one
Our
out.
customers are really excited about this. Like many of our top customers think that this is like one of the aha moments for being able to make these meetings more effective, is to be able to actually tie this together. What Jake's going to show you in a minute is how no matter whether you're in the meeting or you're in a Loop component someplace else, all this can still be tied together. It understands that it's a task, it's being assigned to somebody, a deadline is being given, and it's automatically going into that person's to-do list.
Yeah, so I checked off this haircut task since I don't think I need to do that. And you can go back to the meeting and see that that's actually crossed off here as well, so that stays in sync. And then I can open up the planner board, and this will be a new planner board that's created for the meeting that all meeting participants get access to as well. And you'll see here that that stays in sync as well. So we think that's really great. This also shows in Planner that this is linked to a Loop component. So it kind of connects the network together, and you can go in between. And if I were to select that, that would open up the Loop component into the Loop app. And so I'll show you more of the Loop app in a moment, but this is just a view of how you can take that component and view it in a full screen editor like this, and you can see all the other recent documents that I've been working on in Loop and easily switch between them. And then if I have an existing workspace, I can easily add this meeting note to a space that I've already created with my team, which we'll show you more in a moment too. So yeah, it's really cool to see tasks synchronizing between To-Do, Planner, Loop, and meetings. All right, so that covers our demo for how to make meetings more effective. We hope you all start doing this in your meetings as well, and we think it's a great way to run more effective meetings.
But Jake, wait, there's there's more.
Oh, there is more.
There is more.
We also like to share that we're continuing to innovate and find ways that Copilot and AI can help make our work even more productive. We showed this in the keynote as well, but we have Copilot meeting notes that will be coming later this year that will automatically take notes for you and even suggest tasks. So you'll see here that it's giving you notice, just like a recorded meeting, that Copilot will take notes for you. You can see it on the right-hand side. There's also attribution, so you know which notes were taken by Copilot. Your team members can co-edit this as well, so it's not only Copilot's notes, it's a team space for notes to be taken. And Copilot will just take notes around other team members' notes. You can even give it thumbs up and thumbs down for suggestions to improve Copilot's capabilities. And then in just a moment, I'll share as this progresses forward. Notes will continue to be taken. You can edit them. And then you can see here, these are Copilot's task suggestions. And what's really great is it's understanding both people and your voices and all the transcription, all the chats. So it's really cool when it reminds you after the meeting, like, hey, you made these commitments. You said you would do X, Y, Z. And it creates a task for you, and you're like, oh yeah, I did. I did say that. Maybe I should follow up on that. So it helps keep everyone accountable, and or you can say, hey, we talked about this, but I don't have time for that. You can kind of at least make sure people are on the same page.
Yeah, there were several people that came up in the booth and talked about, I really wish I could have a way to keep track of the action items that come out of a meeting and keep people accountable. And so, not only are we allowing you to do that today, but coming later this year, we'll have Copilot helping you on that.
Yeah, so we think this is super exciting and a great use case for how Copilot can make work more effective. Cool. So once a meeting is completed, the work's not finished, it's just beginning. Usually a meeting is about work that you're doing with your team members and there's next steps. So we have tasks, which is great, but there are, in some instances in meetings, you want to turn this into a more effective project that you can manage with your team and track all the things that you need to be doing. So if I go to the chat, here you can see I also shared a few documents, like our PowerPoint deck, in this chat. And what's really cool is we want to help make this meeting turn into a project and use Loop to create a workspace for you and automatically collect all those things and kickstart this project instead of having to do that on your own. So coming soon, the meetings will have this open and loop workspace option. And upon selecting that, it will automatically create a workspace for you. And so it'll pull in the team members, and you can give this a name, loop session, live demo. And we'll give this a cool emoji. And then it'll pull in all the relevant documents. This is just a few. But you can even search here and find other relevant documents in your company through the Microsoft Graph for other documents that might be related to this project you want to pull in. So you can make search queries and find things and make it easier to pull everything together in one place. And then you can create the workspace. And on the left-hand side, you can see it's automatically pulling in these documents and team members. So this is a great way to kickstart a project and have a central shared space for your team to collaborate together. You can see here, this was the meeting notes that we just took and the tasks, so everything is in one place. Here's our deck we presented for the keynote, and it's really easy to bring everything together and create new content. You can easily add new content just by adding a new link to any document you have, and you can create new pages. And you can think of the workspace as a modern folder. It's just a collection of things, of items, digital assets, documents, pages. And you can even add external links to other websites. So you can think of it as a way to pin important information that your team can quickly find. So you're not looking for scattered information. You can just have it all in one place. You can easily add new team members as well. And we recently will be introducing a workspace link where you can share it into a Teams channel or share it into a Teams chat, and people can join the workspace through an invite link. So we're really excited for this, so you don't have to manage invites by one at a time. All right.
Do you want to talk about, briefly, we could just mention for those people that weren't at the keynote about guest access?
Oh yeah.
We won't be demoing it, but could you just show them how we add members real quick and we can speak to it?
Yep. Yeah. So just like you can invite new members here, so I'll invite Derek, my manager. So just like you can simply invite a person here, you can invite external guests as well just by typing in their work email or their Microsoft account email.
Yep.
And that will be working for SMBs coming really within a month, and then for larger enterprises in a few months. And this is one of the number one customer feedbacks we got, which totally makes sense. You know, a lot of companies and people are working with other companies. And it was just a progression for us to work on all the core functionalities for a tenant or for a business, and then be able to access business-to-business collaboration.
Okay. I'll take one question.
Yeah, I'm going to ask, do they then get access to everything, including the tasks?
Good question. It's up to you. You can actually give them access to just the page, which basically allows them to access everything on the page. Or you can.
Including the tasks in Planner?
Yes.
Does
If
it
they
get access in Planner
have access in Planner,
as a guest?
yes. And I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong on that, but
Yeah, I haven't tried, so
Yeah.
we'll have to follow up on that.
I think when you're dealing with a third-party component, that's a little bit of a wild card because they're going to have access to that third-party tool most likely. They might have the ability to view it, but they won't be able to actually edit. So there's some nuances there.
Yeah, because I was thinking if it's a Microsoft account, a consumer one,
Right.
then
Yeah, we'll follow up and try that actually after this session. I am imagining they can see the tasks in the document right here, but then that they wouldn't be able to open in Planner to do. I wouldn't think so. We'd have to try that out though.
yeah, it will be very interesting. So make it work. When we have that.
Yeah.
Feedback taken. Yes.
Where does the planner live when you create it that way? Is it?
Planner still lives in Planner.
The team, is it tied to the Office 365 group? But now, I mean, personal plans, is it in mine? That's.
So today we're creating our each planner board is a new board and with individual guests or people based on the workspace or team meeting. So it's not specific or existing groups. It's just creating a new member list. Yeah.
Okay.
We are going to be working on the ability to add an existing Microsoft 365 group to a workspace. Right now we just have individual membership at this time.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just had a question. How do you decide if it goes to Planner or to-do lists?
Yeah, so when you create,
Let me repeat the question. 'Cause
Yeah.
so the question was, how do you decide whether it goes to Planner or to-do lists?
yeah, so when you create a task in a page, it will create a new planner board for that page and capture all of the tasks across all the members. And then any task assigned to you will go to your personal to-do. So think of to-do as your personal task aggregation list, and then planner is the shared task list.
So it'll still appear on the Planner, but then it goes to
Yeah, so it'll be in both places. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to cut the questions now because otherwise we won't get. But so hold your thought. We'll get to it later. I broke the rule, and now I'm paying the price. It's okay.
Yeah, no, this is why we're doing this session. We wanted to engage
Yeah,
with you.
we wanted
so-
to, but we also we got a lot of content because we wanted to go deeper in some
Yeah,
areas. So we want to make sure we get through that.
Let me just get through the rest of it, but we love it. So let me just quickly share as well how you can create new content super easily in Loop. So here's a blank page. You can, of course, start however you'd like, but we have a number of inbox templates that make it really easy to get started on anything you're trying to do. These give good inspiration for whether you're doing a meeting or a tech spec, working on a product pitch, doing a hackathon project. There's a ton of different templates here, which is really great. And so I'm going to create this project brief as an example. And what we recently introduced as well is the ability to create your own custom template for your company. So if you want to make a modification to this, and say I add something simple right now, like adding the table of contents. Oops. Let's see. Let me try a different page. Interesting. Let me refresh. Yeah, so through the forward slash menu is really the entry point to all of our great building blocks that make it really easy to create new content. So you can either just select this when you start a new line, or you can type the forward slash. And here's all of our building blocks for creating content. We have a lot of general things like creating tables or checklists or bullet lists. But we have a bunch of different formats, a lot of different text styles. And this helps take the formatting work out of what you need to do. It's like think less about formatting, more about structure, more about content, and Loop will help make the page beautiful for you. We recently introduced collapsible headers as well, so you can open and close different blocks of content. And a bunch of templates as well to help kickstart it on an idea. And then we have integrations with Microsoft apps like GitHub and Planner. And then we're starting to work with third-party tools. We have integrations with Jira and Trello. So let me go back and show you the template. And I'll create some new content, like adding a table of contents. Maybe we can do something like the voting table like we had earlier. Actually, let's add a progress tracker. This is just a table, but it has advanced things like status labels that are built in. So it makes it really easy to allow you to track the progress of an item. And for any page, you can now be able to save this page as a custom template. And upon doing that, I can call this project brief for demo and save it. And then anytime any new team member wants to create a new page, they can go into the template gallery and use the template that you created for your team. Now this is a bit of a generic template, but you can create anything you'd like, and this helps the team follow exact structured documents that you want to have. Maybe you have a specific retro document or a specific project template that you can reuse for your team. So that's been really exciting. So let me fast forward to a workspace that has more content in it. This was our Keynote workspace. And I want to show a little bit about project management. Right here we have a table, our status tracker that's more evolved, and you can see a number of different tasks that are being tracked by person and by its status. And another capability we introduced is a way to better manage tracking this progress with automation. So if anyone's familiar with Power Automate, Loop now works with Power Automate. You can go through this table and add a rule.
We didn't show this in the keynote, so this is some new stuff we thought we would show you.
So here you can make any rule you'd like based on the column statuses and different information. But I have a rule where if the status becomes blocked, then send me an email. And so if you're managing a project and you might want to just be notified for something super important, then you can do this. You can do emails and Teams chat, channel posts, and more in the future. And so I can show you here. Here's the email I got when I changed this to blocked. And it's simple right now, but we'll evolve this over time so you can make this more advanced. But some of this workflow automation helps empower the team to be more efficient and get notified when something happens versus waiting a day or two and realizing, hey, wait, why is this blocked? I didn't know this happened. Like, do you need help? Can I unblock you? You get notified right away. Let's see. We work with a lot of integrations like we mentioned before. So you can use the status tracker to do lightweight project management. You can use our task list, which syncs with to-do. But here you can see a planner board that's embedded into the page. And all you need to do is simply copy the plan, a link to the planner board. And upon inserting it, it will convert just like this. So we think that's really cool too. So if you already have an existing plan, you don't need to create a new one. You just pull it in. And the team will have, you have to manage permissions to make sure the people in the workspace have access to this planner board. But it makes it easier to use everything in one place and not have to context switch. We have integrations with Azure DevOps. So if you're using that for task management, you can have it synchronize here. And then, like we mentioned before, Jira issues and Trello boards. And our team uses Figma a lot, so you can integrate with Figma for your design team.
I was going to add a point if I could, Jake. If you could scroll back to Azure DevOps. So we actually are literally building Loop with Loop. We have our own ship room that is being managed on a weekly basis. We're coordinating with engineering teams, multiple engineering teams in different places in India, engineering teams in the United States, engineering teams in Boston, engineering teams in Europe. So we use Loop every day, every week, to track our progress, and we integrate it with Azure DevOps because Azure DevOps is our internal standard for how engineering manages their backlogs and their epics. So it's really kind of cool, and we've learned a lot by doing that.
Yeah, and speaking of that, this is just one workspace that I created, but I wanted to show you a number of other workspaces our team uses on a daily basis. So this is our Comms Be Next workspace, but this is our quarterly planning workspace, which we live in every quarter to prepare for what we should work on next and gather and synthesize all our customer feedback and vote on what's most important. We have this use case workspace, which is our place where we talk with customers about different ways people are using Loop, like project management, and collecting customer interview notes and synthesizing a lot of great information. Mm-hmm. And then here's our ship room workspace that Michael just mentioned.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that was a great segue.
Cheat you.
Yeah, no. And so this is just a few of my favorite workspaces that I use every day. But you can easily create a new workspace just by clicking the plus button and giving it a title. Here's another workspace. You can personalize it to however you'd like. You can update the cover to a different image. You can search for new images as well. So let's use this one. And invite other people. So I'll invite Michael. And this is where you can pull in other information, but I'll just quickly jump start. And so it's just seconds to create a new workspace. This is a new space, and you can start creating new content and pull in new people, pull in new files, and it's just really fast and easy and simple to get started. So
yeah, and at first when we show this to customers, they're a little bit confused, but a workspace is really no different than a folder. For those who've been around the block for a while, think of it as a folder where you're putting pages of information, and they can be pages or they can be documents, as Jake has shown you. And what Loop is doing is it's helping to pull together your Loop components. So some of you that may have been early adopters of Loop components before we had the Loop app, one of the frustrations that you may have experienced is, hey, where the heck are these components? Where can I find them? And actually, Loop is the aggregator for where all these components can live. And so if you go up into Loop, you'll be able to see your components. If you go to the home, I think it's in the home page or the recents, you can actually find your Loop components here or search for them based on meetings. Mm-hmm. And I think in the home page as well, correct me if I'm wrong, when you go to home.
There's more of my personal stuff there.
Okay, we won't do that then. You'll just have to trust us on that one.
All right, so the last things I wanted to share as well is how we're integrating Copilot into Loop to help make things more efficient. And hold that question. We're going to have a Q&A just after this. And so if I go back to the workspace, one thing we've done is to help people catch up on progress of how things are progressing in this large workspace that's growing and evolving. So you can go to workspace status, and this will summarize the top insights. It's using AI to traverse all the information and ground and collect the top insights. You can look at all the tasks across all the pages in one place, and also the status labels across the workspace. And then you can also use Copilot to generate new content. And I also wanted to show you something that's unique to Loop and how we're thinking about building Copilot into the canvas. And so here I've already made a prompt to summarize this page. And anyone in the workspace can open this and inspect what the prompt was to make this content. So you can have more kind of trust and understanding in how was this created. Not only are we attributing this to say this part of the document was Copilot, but you can open it up and see what the prompt was. And you can make changes to this as well. So I can say, can you make this a paragraph? And it will update. And then you can see the history of all of the different prompts. It's kind of like version history for Copilot. And you'll see once this finishes that you can compare the before and after and see changes that are made. So now I have a paragraph. You can highlight this. You can see the prior. You can revert to that. And then if I want to make some changes as well, so if I say this is a page, this page is an executive brief, I may say for Ron and the team for the Comms Be Next conference. Now when I highlight, I can see which section of the document I made and which of it was Copilot. So this is a great way as well to see who wrote what. And you can have more confidence and assurance to know how this page was created. And you can see Michael here typing as well.
Is that limited just to that component, that visibility? Is there a way to highlight it across everything on that page?
Yeah, so any place. So the question was, can you see attribution for other content? And yeah, anywhere in the page you can click and hover, and it will highlight who wrote what.
But it doesn't highlight it all at once down the page. You've got to go to each of the components.
Yeah, it's really at the block level right now. Yeah, but in the future we could imagine having a highlight all the things Copilot created in this page. But we also have this right side Copilot attribution, so you can see what was created. And then as well, any other section I can highlight any block. You can actually quickly on the right-hand side, this is coming soon, interact with Copilot and come up with a prompt. So I can maybe say, let's give another example. Yeah, I can just say like update this title. I don't know. Yeah, so anything you can think of. I didn't prepare for that. And then Copilot's also available in the / menu, so you can either draft page content or summarize the page. So 2 ways to easily use Copilot to help create content.
About 19 minutes.
Yeah, I think let's switch to the rest of the slides, and then let's jump into more Q&A. We can go through these quickly. So that's what we saw today. Why don't you take them here?
Thanks. So I had mentioned earlier we have over 100 companies around the world that have been on the journey with us to build Loop in the last year. They've been a part of our TAP program. You may be familiar with TAP programs that you've experienced with teams. We've split this between small businesses that are less than 300 employees, because that's what we consider to be our primary target market for this product. But we also discovered early on that large organizations, the enterprises that are larger than 300, have similar issues. They have similar challenges, and they want to be able to work in small collaborative groups. So while we definitely index on the small business and figuring out what's important to them, we're also mindful of large organizations. And obviously that's one of the reasons why we'll be talking about IT admin in a minute, and that's a critical area that we're working on and that Jake will cover. But the really interesting stat that we weren't able to share in the keynote very clearly, but I will share here. I've been benchmarking every quarter with these customers, doing surveys where we get hundreds of responses from these customers. And we've been measuring satisfaction on 2 different fundamental indicators. And the satisfaction in both of these areas has been absolutely growing immensely. It basically was 200%. We just measured it last month, and it was 200% better in terms of overall satisfaction than what we measured when we first launched the preview. And our satisfaction measures are getting close to what Word and Excel are that we have as standard measures. So I think that's an amazing statement for the progress the team has made in terms of listening to what customers have been saying to us. Obviously, the TAP customers are not the only piece of data that we listen to. We're also using telemetry. But we've been extremely customer-driven, as Ron had discussed in our keynote, in how we built this. So hand it over to you for IT admin.
All right. So like we mentioned in the demo, managing Loop content is just like managing a file. So a Loop page is a .loop file, and it's saved in a few places that we'll share in the next slide. And so IT administrators can manage Loop files just like they manage other files. Similarly, a Loop workspace is similar in nature to a SharePoint site. It's like or a OneDrive folder. It's a container, and it's built into SharePoint. And all of the capabilities that are available that admins are familiar with SharePoint will be available with Loop workspaces and pages as well. In this slide deck, which we'll be sharing to everyone, you can see these links as well to learn more about some of the compliance details. But just think of pages as files and workspaces as folders. For where Loop files are saved, there's a few places they're saved today. And so anything that's created inside the Loop app, when you create a workspace, will be saved in what's called SharePoint Embedded. This is a new SharePoint service that has been created for new modern apps like Loop and Designer and others in the future. And it's essentially creating a SharePoint site without the UX. It's really just all the backend capabilities, the file management, all the file administration tools, but without the user-facing SharePoint site. The front-facing experience for customers engaging with these files is the Loop app, or for Designer, the Designer app. And so everything is shared in the SharePoint embedded site. For other things that are created in the ecosystem, like Teams, if you create a Loop component in a channel, it's saved in the channels storage location. So if you go to the channel files tab, you'll see it created there. Same for Teams meetings. If you create a component in a chat, that's saved in the user's OneDrive for Business. So this is similar to if you were to upload a file from your computer to a chat. it's saved there. So we're just following the same the same pattern that other files use. And then for Outlook and email, it'll be saved to your OneDrive attachments folder. And for your own meetings, it'll be saved in your OneDrive meetings folder. So essentially right now, there's 3 places. It's either in individual's OneDrive for Business, in a Loop workspace, which is SharePoint embedded, or in an existing group site that exists. Now, we have heard feedback that this is still a little bit spread out, and we're all about making things easier to pull together, but we're following the existing paradigms that IT administrators and companies are familiar with. And we're working on making it easier for customers to not think about where the file is saved, but seeing it in the Loop app and just accessing it there. Here's some of the IT admin capabilities that we support today. And we did everything we needed to do for SMBs to comfortably use Loop without any concern. There are some compliance capabilities that we're still in progress, and we're looking to have those finished in this calendar year. But you can see all of this, and this is also available online on our support documentation for IT compliance management. For some things that are in progress, we wanted to share and highlight, though, sensitivity labels and data loss prevention is now currently in preview, in our private preview ring, and will be coming out very soon. So you can see here, for companies that like this or want to use this, you can set a label for every page, just like you can with Word files. And a few other things like multi-geo support. Right now, we're just in the default geo for the tenant, and retention labels will be added in the future. So some compliance items. And then for data lifecycle management, there's a handful of things that we're still working on to become available. A better SharePoint admin center site, the ability to have multiple owners for a workspace. Right now, the owner is the creator of the workspace. The ability to more easily recover deleted workspaces. Right now, it's a bit of a heavier effort for an IT admin to do this, so we'll make that much easier for users to recover and IT admins to recover, and a number of other things. Michael, you want to talk to how you can get?
Sure.
Yeah.
So what we've shown you today. This is really how you can get it. The Loop app and the Loop components. We hope that you take away that you've already got this if you've got an E3 or E5 tenant or A3 or A5 tenant, and this is available for you today to try out and really delve into and explore and see whether or not it makes an impact in some of the same kinds of use cases that you saw that we demoed. But there's many other scenarios. We talked about the most common use cases, but there are many other scenarios that are emerging. And Loop components are available on all the Office and Microsoft 365 licenses. And we are not supporting government clouds and sovereign environments right now. And then Copilot, any of those Copilot experiences that you saw, those are all enabled with a Copilot license. So you have to get the Copilot license to get that extra secret sauce that we were showing you there. We also have a Loop mobile app, and it's on iOS and Android, and you can actually use these QR codes to get it. It's great for catching up on what needs your attention, being able to view all the same content that's in your Loop in one place, but it's in a mobile optimized user interface, and be able to then capture ideas on the go or reply to comments and changes. And the mobile team is super excited to continue to evolve this, and they've been testing new concepts already with our TAP customers to evolve the UI. So we'll see other changes coming later this year.
Just want to call out too that the Loop app is available in the Windows App Store as well. So you can access Loop from the web, and you can download it as a web app, but it's available in the Microsoft Store too, so easier to use as a standalone app.
Now, what we'd like to do is also mention adoption.microsoft.com, because many people came up to me, at least in the booth, and said, hey, where's the how-to content? I want to learn more. And certainly, if you've gone to the booth and you've seen some of our big banner signs, we have QR codes that help to take you to those specific Copilot scenarios that we talked about. But if you go to adoption.microsoft.com, do we have it up?
Yeah.
There is actually a dedicated Loop page under adoption.microsoft.com, and I just kind of want to take the time to walk through a little of this content, because I think it's important, particularly if you go down, scroll down there for me, Jake. There's some great how-to content about user help and learning. You can also go to see videos on YouTube related to Loop. There's a day in the life guides, which are different scenarios. There's guided simulations, and then there's also Copilot and Loop user help and learning. There's an IT admin section here that's a jumping off point to go into some of the things that Jake was just showing you in terms of how to manage workspaces, components. And we also have a really cool Microsoft Mechanics video that's a deep dive into Loop, as well as compliance support. So this is a great resource for those of you that were having trouble trying to find some of this stuff. Go to adoption.microsoft.com and check it out. But we also have some other really cool content that we will show you in just a second. We have a group of content creators that have been with us on the Loop journey along with our companies. And they've actually made a bunch of great how-to content. And I've got links here in the slide. And you can see there's our Twitter feed. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, or there's a LinkedIn user group. So we're starting to build a user group community. You're more than welcome to join. We've got some great MVPs that are helping us in that regard. We're starting to have an emerging group of MVPs that are really attached to Loop. And then we've got a LinkedIn learning course. But there's tons of different, you can see very specific topics around Figma, around how you can use it for project management, how to basically deal with tasks, Kanban boards, Planner Sync. So these are great little short videos that people have made on how-to content.
Okay. Jump to questions.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Next slide.
Sorry. So now we can ask questions, but any of those, while we're asking questions, if you can also, if those of you that weren't at the keynote and haven't answered the survey, please use the QR code to answer our survey and help us get better. Let's start the questions.
And one more thing too, we're going to be at the Zone booth right after this for the next hour, 2 hours. So for leftover questions, we can keep talking.
Yeah, we'll be at the Microsoft Zone right after this.
And you want to pass the mic?
Actually, no. I'll just take it from here. So yes, sir.
Yeah, 2 questions. One, you talked about the to-do site and also the planner site. Thanks for the explanation on both of those, because that was one of my questions too earlier. What's the links for both of those? What's the URL for getting to both of those websites? That's my first question. Question 2 has to do with searching. So you mentioned earlier that you create these Loop documents, these Loop folders, as you will, and the documents that are contained within those folders are saved within an embedded SharePoint version of SharePoint. If you're searching in primary SharePoint, does that search extend into the embedded SharePoint and vice versa? How do we prevent duplication of like the same document that's stored in both places? Those are the 2 questions I have.
Okay, let me. I'm going to have to try to repeat your question because we don't have time to do that. So the first question was around where do you find to-do and planner URLs? Okay, you should be able to find them, like you can go right into the waffle of Microsoft 365, and you should be able to get to planner and to-do through the waffle. So you don't have to go to the URLs. But I think planner has. I can't remember now. They have it. I don't know what their URL is, but I think they have task.com. Thank you. And then I think if you go to some of the training that people have done, I'm sure they will lead you to all of that stuff. Now the second part of your question was, okay, I've got stuff stored in, I've got a Loop page or Loop content that's stored in SharePoint embedded, and then
you may have some of the same documents stored in primary SharePoint that were created.
Oh, I think I see what your question is. Yeah, so for pages, new pages created in the SharePoint embedded site, in the workspace, those are new files, and those can be searched on office.com. If you have access to it, the search results will come up. If you add something like a PowerPoint to your SharePoint site, we're linking that page. We're not duplicating it.
Yeah.
So if you add a PowerPoint, it's just a reference to that document. So it's just one file in your company. And the workspace is just able to aggregate documents that already exist in different folders into the workspace to be easily referenceable. So
it's the same URL for SharePoint.
Yes.
It's stored in a virtual container, basically.
yeah, think of it as headless SharePoint is kind of how I've been.
Like this PowerPoint deck has a different storage location. It's just easily referenced in this workspace, so I can click it and open it.
That's right.
I think that was your question around, will things get duplicated and be, so it is, we want to make sure we're not duplicating content.
Did we get all your question there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll start over here at the front, and then we'll work our way back.
You showed the sort of capabilities in a Teams meeting to do things like meeting notes and tasks. I join a lot of meetings on my phone. Will I be able to see those same Loop components in a Teams meeting
Yes.
Yeah, so loop components.
Sorry, the question was, if I use my mobile phone, will I be able to see those same abilities to add agendas or respond to agendas and meeting notes and tasks that are happening in a Teams meeting on my phone? And the answer is yes. Next, yes,
Yeah, so
second row.
I'm interested in the Copilot aspect. You mentioned that about the licenses. So does everyone have to have a Copilot license?
Oh, this is a great question. So the
Great
question
question.
is,
You're gonna get it.
yeah, for Copilot in Loop, for those who have the Copilot license, you'll see the Copilot capabilities in the / menu, so you can see this Copilot section. So those with the license can insert Copilot content and ask Copilot for prompts. For those who don't have a license but do have access to the workspace, they can view the Copilot content but not make changes. So you'll be able to. It's like read only.
It's like read only.
Yeah. So you'll be able to see this. You can of course edit the text, and it'll say, "Oh, Jake made these edits," but I can't ask Copilot for additional prompts or make additional changes. So the simple answer is those with the license can create new Copilot things and change it with Copilot, and those without the license can just view the content as if it was just text.
Okay.
So from a governance standpoint, I want to kind of follow on this gentleman's comment too.
Sure.
With the headless SharePoint aspect of that. One of the concerns is that if I'm working in a secure area, so it's kind of two parts of the question here, and I add in documents, I mean, my assumption would be that if I have that PowerPoint, but only 3 of us should have access to that, but we've included somebody that's not privy to that source material. You said earlier that it adjusts the permissions for the shared items. One of the concerns is from the governance standpoint is that is it inheriting the permissions, the security around those components, or is it now as a new document? Are you talking about looking at how do we take from a security standpoint? Because there are organizations that are like, we will not allow our users to use Loop because this is not clear of what the path is.
Okay.
It needs to inherit. Is that the role, or is it like?
Let me rephrase. Let me try to say your question really quick so that everybody understands on demand. What you're saying is, hey, when you are having a linked document, let's use the PowerPoint example, right? And that is basically only allowed to say 3 people, but you're putting a link to it in a page or a workspace that has 5 people in it. What happens to those links? And if I'm one of the people that didn't have access to that document, what happens? Do you have the answer to that?
Yeah. So it's a great question. Today we have, coming soon, we'll have labels for pages, and then we're working on labels for workspaces. So this is how you can at least manage the data classification for the workspace if it needs to be secure and private and locked down. So that's coming soon. But for today, if you were to add a linked file to a workspace, it is going to give access to those workspace members. So it's, you have to make sure customers are aware of, hey, adding to a space is basically like clicking the share button and say share with XYZ. We are going to work on making this more apparent with a prompt to say when you add a file with different permissions, it says, hey, by the way, you are elevating this document to more people. We don't have that today. It's a little more out of magic, yeah.
I know the third-party tool providers, companies, they're all handling it as oversharing, essentially.
Is an oversharing problem, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to try to make sure we've only got a couple more minutes, but I want to. There were some questions over on this side of the room. I want to make sure. Were there any on this side? Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the Loop app on mobile is good. Any thoughts on offline access?
We do have thoughts, and we're working on it. We'll see. I can't give you any time frames on it, but we have definitely heard the feedback that offline access would be awesome, not just for mobile, but also for the Loop app itself. So interesting. We have thoughts, and we're trying to figure it out.
Okay, good.
So I see we are at time.
Okay, thanks for keeping me honest.
For those who have questions, can we huddle right outside and keep talking?
Yeah, we can either huddle right outside, or if you want to follow us to the Microsoft Zone, we'll be happy to. We'll split up, and you can pick one of us, and we'll try to see if we can triage all your questions.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate it. Yeah.